Hi, please have your seat. Thank you. I suppose the challenge of having people talk about you in your presence is you kind of wonder who they're talking about sometimes. And you're checking always whether the things that are being said are accurate. Good afternoon, Unilag. Or great Akokites. Let's not pretend that I was not once here. I was. And I think the other day I was back here with my sister and her kids and mine actually, and we took them around the school that we attended. So we drove in from the back gate, went around the auditorium, went from hall to hall, just showing them the school that we went to. It's always a pleasure to be back here and to have a chance to speak with people who are also going through the university. Okay, nice part over. I'm going to talk to us about me. What I was asked to do was really tell you a little bit about myself, some about my story. I'm not sure why you think is interesting, but I'll tell you anyway. And I guess you can be the judge of that yourself. Where do I start from? I'll start from what is a good education. You may find that people think that a good education is the school you go to. It's part of it. It could be part of it. Some people think that it's the class of degree that you live with. It could be a part of it. But I think that what makes a good education is a number of other things that combine together to give you a sense of wholeness about what it is that you've done. Interestingly, I'll tell you the two most important figures in my life. I think that these two gentlemen have made have had such a great impact on me growing up and in terms of my career choices and the things that I've done. The first is my late father. He passed on last year, and he was instrumental to literally everything that I've done in terms of school. And growing up, he would say, here's where I want you to go to school. And my answer would be, yes, Daddy. And he'll fill the form. I actually never filled a form myself. So he'll fill the form and tell me that here's where I want you to go to, here's what I need you to score, and we would do that. And he'll tell me that, you know, I'm a very short man. He was a very short man. And there's no point, since I'm so short, very easily I'll see the bottom of the list. But if you will help me, my son, I can look up for once and have a chance to see the top of the list. And he'll always go and check my results himself, so he could look up and see the top of the list. I've been very privileged in life. I've been very privileged in life, I was saying. Now, you're very attentive to what I'm saying. Okay. Right. So, I was saying that I've been very privileged in life, and from a very early age, my dad taught us to express ourselves. And he'd say to us that all you have left at the end of the day is really your opinion, all right, and your integrity. The fact that you have the courage to say the things that you believe to be true and the things that you believe as they are. And the fact that those things are truly your view and not that of anybody who's trying to get you to do something for some other reason. I didn't really understand what he meant, but as I've gotten older, I think I now value it even more. I was saying all that to come to the point where I'm going to say to you, and I'll return to the story, that a good education is known after the fact. It's hard to tell a good education before the fact. Everything is pointing towards that, all right, and you take steps that hopefully will take you closer and closer to a higher quality education. But the truth is that you know a good education after the fact. It's a bit like beauty, all right? It's in the eye of the beholder. And it's not so much the person who is educated that appreciates the quality of the education, but the people with whom the person interacts. Should I say that again? A good education is known after the fact. And like beauty, it is actually in the eye of the beholder. So the people that you engage with will tell you about the quality of your education. If you read and never understood,
If you crammed, no matter how much you passed, if at the end of the day the thing never got into you and you cannot apply it, you will find yourself stranded in the journey of life because you don't know how to use those things. Today, I speak with graduate trainees that come into the bank and the group. And when I speak to them about retail banking, I tell them that one of the principles with which we run a bank is Newton's first law of motion. How many people remember Newton's first law of motion? Every hand should be up, but many hands are down because you've forgotten. Who wants to quickly tell me what Newton's first law of motion says? Yes? That's correct. There's another name there's a common expression for Newton's first law of motion. Who wants to tell us what that is? Inertia. That's correct. So now I'm talking to these young people, graduate trainees, and I'm talking to them about running a bank, and I'm telling them about Newton's first law of motion. All right, and they are thinking, is this guy crazy? Look, we're in a bank. That was physics. But I'm saying, but that actually is what it all is. Now, the quality of your education is about understanding how these things result in application or how they can be applied to change things. If you think about taking an institution or doing something that was at a level, excuse me if I borrow your expression, and you're moving from one level to another level, what do you think drives that? Is what somebody called a quantum leap. Where did that come from? It came from atomic physics. How does a particle, all right, live where it is, or the range within which it operates naturally, moving to another level, is something that is described in atomic physics. It is the same principle by which we create nuclear fission. Are we still together? Okay. The idea that you could imagine where, let me use a different expression. So, what's his name? Charles Darwin, writing, all right? And I read somewhere recently that he wasn't the one that crafted the expression, the survival of the fittest. He wasn't the one, he borrowed it from someone. But he was writing about how species evolve over time. Now, we're in biology, right? Okay. And he talks about how progressively those that are weaker than others effectively fall away, and only those who are able to adapt, mutate, effectively survive in the environment because of changes that are happening. Are we still together? Yes. All right. Now, it's a concept that has been borrowed from biology, but if you think about it in the context of competition in the marketplace, it actually plays out. So when institutions are weak, what happens? Others take advantage of them. In doing so, the others that take advantage of them survive and the weaker institutions die. And in the same marketplace, you have the survival of the fittest. Now, if you understand how evolution occurs, then when you look at an entity, or you look at a business, or you look at a school, or you look at whatever activity that is going on, that involves human beings, all right, you can see when decay begins to happen. Which takes us to a principle in chemistry. Matter, when kept standing by itself, what is its natural tendency? Who understands what the meaning of entropy is? Okay, there's someone that understands entropy. Can you tell us quickly what it is? Sorry? That's what we are defining it. But it's a tendency to decay. Now you'll find that any matter left freestanding, all right, has a natural tendency to decay. It's why erosion happens on soil particles sitting in somewhere, all right. All of those things. Now, the natural tendency of the human activity is also towards decay, which is why without active intervention, you have mediocrity as a tendency. Are we still together? We are chemistry, right? The reality of our understanding is that there's a need for people to continue to invest in themselves. There's a need for any institution that seeks to survive for the future, that to continue to invest in itself, to build up its capacity to grow, to acquire new knowledge, and to make progress. So the principle that my dad taught me in different ways. So when I was coming into University of Lagos, he said to me, "Son, I think that you have too much time on your hands." I mean, I came into university, top of the list entering to study actuarial science. All right, and I studied actuarial science because there were very few people studying actuarial science. I could have done anything I wanted to do. But I came in to study actuarial science. And then he said to me that he thought I'd have too much time on my hands, so he thought I should write the ICANN exams alongside. As usual, I said, "Yes, Daddy." And I started writing the ICANN exam. So I qualified as a chartered accountant before I graduated. All right? And that changed my life. I first served as an intern to a friend of his that had an accounting practice, which entitled me to actually become a chartered accountant on graduation. If I hadn't done that, or I would not have been, I would have had to wait for years. But I had served as an intern in this accounting practice. And alongside, I wrote my exams. And in passing the exams, I became a chartered accountant. Because when I graduated, I started working almost immediately after. Not because I studied actuarial science, but because I was a chartered accountant. That changed my life. And he then said to me, "You know, my son, I think that you have the capacity to do a lot more. So whilst you are here in this banking, and I don't know how long you're going to be in this banking, why don't you just take some time to become a professional at it?" So I picked up the Chartered Institute of Bankers examination, and I wrote it. That's how I became a chartered banker. And then somewhere in between, in the course of doing my work, the bank then said they wanted people to write the stockbroking exams because they wanted to have a collection of brokers just in case markets grew and there were changes and people left. They will have a good base of brokers to pick people from. So I put up my hand to say, "Okay, I'll write the exam." So I wrote the exam. That's how I became a chartered stockbroker. And what started like a joke, like a pastime, it's been years. I'm a fellow of all institutions now. So, I mean, I have classmates who are just becoming associates. And things change just by being diligent in some of these things. My dad passed on last year, like I told you. And unfortunately, I'm stuck with a few things because there were some things he had asked me to do and to keep doing, and we never got the chance to discuss how I would stop doing them. So I'm now trying to persuade myself that since he's no longer around, I can make up my mind for myself. But I'll let you know how that goes. Well, the other gentleman that I think has had a tremendous influence on my life is Mr. Atedo Peterside, CON. He's the chairman of Stanbic IBTC Bank, chairman of Cadbury, I think director of Nigerian Breweries. Well, he founded IBTC and through a series of transactions, eventually sold off the majority of his stake to Standard Bank and created Stanbic IBTC that he's the chairman now. But I think the biggest impact that Mr. Peterside had on my life was to give me a chance. And one of the reasons why I'm constantly available to have discussions is because he looked at this young man with my big glasses back then and said, "Sure, come. I think you can work here. I think you can make a difference." And they didn't actually have a role in the bank at the time. But they just said I should come, and they kept moving me from unit to unit So I spent a couple of weeks here, a couple of weeks there, a couple of weeks there, until a vacancy actually opened up, and then I had a permanent seat. And from then, when there was an opportunity, he would ask me, would you like to do this? So sometime, I found myself, the bank was opening its first office outside of Lagos, back in '99. And they asked people to volunteer to go to Abuja to go and set up that office. And I don't know who volunteered. I know that I did not volunteer. Okay, I don't know if I can tell you why I did not volunteer. There was actually a reason. Maybe I'll tell you later. I won't tell you now. Anyway, I didn't volunteer. So one day, Mr. Pesticide calls me and says to me, I noticed that you did not volunteer to go to Abuja to set up this office. And I said to him, I didn't. He says, why? I said, because I'm doing so much here already. I'm learning a lot. There's a lot that I can do and this and that. And he says to me, nonsense. You can do any of these things you have said from Abuja and a lot more. I think you should go and do it. So I said to him, okay. And he says to me, you can go and think about it. And I said, what's there to think about? You think I can do it? So let's go and do it. So the following week he says to me, compact. The following week I showed up. He showed up. We met at the airport. We got on the plane. We got to Abuja. He took me to one office, handed me over to one man, and got on a plane and left. I said, I'll see you in 2 weeks. And that was the start of an interesting phase of my life. 5 years later, we had built a fairly strong entity in Abuja. I learned to sell, I learned to manage relationships, I learned to create new products. That's when I got into asset management. I mean, all kinds of things happened simply because I said yes. So these two gentlemen, yes, I think they're very gentlemen, have had profound impact on my life. But I think that these were the makings of what happened. I mean, along the way, I've worked with some really, really good people. And one of the things I'll tell you about a good education. A good education allows you to be able to contribute to a conversation. It's not so much about what you know or what you don't know, but it's about your ability to process information that people are giving you. I'm trying not to, I want to avoid anything that is very spectacular in our discussion, because I think that many of the things that make for success when you leave school are actually very simple things that we often overlook while we are looking for the great and mighty and spectacular things. But it's very simple things about behavior, it's very simple things about contentment, it's very simple things about having a respect for other people. I remember some time ago I had an issue. What was the issue? The issue was really about the fact that I thought that I had come to a place in, there's an echo on this. I thought I had come to a place, testing, who's managing this? Okay, it's better. Right. No, it's not better. Okay, I think I'll live with that. Right, I thought I had come to a place where I felt I had stagnated in my career, and I didn't think that there was much more I could do. I then decided to go back to school, and that's when I got the Chivlin Scholarship opportunity. This was in 2003. I thought it was impossible. Why did I want to go to school in UK? My colleagues said that there was nothing I needed because they felt I had all the qualifications I required. And then I said to them that, well, that is true, but I didn't ever want it said on my CV and in reviewing me in relation to other people that the reason why I would not be able to attain to something was because I did not school overseas. You know, in my generation, it mattered, or it seemed to matter at the time, because there were a number of people who had come into the country, they had schooled overseas and all, they seemed to be getting opportunity. Alright, so I thought, look, you know what, I'm going to even myself out with you guys. Alright, that's not going to be an issue. So I applied and I got the Shipping Scholarship. But one of the questions that they asked me in giving me that scholarship was, why do you want to go and study in the UK? Knowing that you must return to Nigeria, what's the point? Why do you want to do it? Especially given where you were and you're doing well in your career and all. And I said to them that I would like to be in a position to impact Nigeria from a workforce perspective. There are many people who graduate looking to go and start up a business, looking for how they can leave the country, looking for this and that. All right? But they don't realize how valuable they are as talents in any business that hopes to survive for the future. My goal has always been to be able to work with people in an established organization and see how far I can go to the top of that organization to make a change. And it was important to me to be able to demonstrate in practice that this was in fact possible. So I came from almost nowhere. There's nothing I can show you and say, oh, maybe somebody left me this spot somewhere. There's no such thing. All we had was this fact that our father was committed to sending us to school. Taking that, we could get to a place where we could demonstrate value that we're creating within an organization that we're committed to supporting. And that I could go out, learn, improve myself, compete against the best in the world, and come back and show people that it is possible. I told some people the other day that I didn't think in reality and looking back that the problem with Nigeria isn't that we don't have schools. We have schools. Many people say that our education is bad or poor. Actually, yes, there are many things that are deficient, but nothing is bad or poor in and of itself. It is ourselves as people that determine whether or not the education is poor. If everybody passing through Unilag comes out and is a star performer, then guess what? The education in Unilag is great. If everybody passing through Unilag comes out and is a failure outside, then guess what? The education in Unilag is terrible. Indeed, the result is a function of what we can make of ourselves. So the responsibility to give Unilag a good name or a bad name still lies with each of us. So maybe I'm giving Unilag a good name. Am I? Yes. You sure? Yes. Then the question for you is to tell the person beside you, or ask the person, will you give Unilag a good name? Answer the question. But to do that really requires you to make some adjustments. So from my story, all right, I'd like you to make a few adjustments as follows. 1, read to understand, not to pass the exam. What's the problem? I don't know what the problem is. I'll tell you, when I was in school, one of the things I used to do was, I didn't realize it until after the fact, but I used to have a little hobby with inanimate objects. So trees, spoons, cutlery, and I would try to apply the knowledge that I had acquired with inanimate things to recreate them. And I've never learned anything except I could prove it from first principles. That's how come I remember these things. So I can talk to you about different things, but because I actually remember them, not because I crammed them for any purpose. Read to understand. When we went to school, there was nothing like the internet. I still remember there was a book that we used, something, I don't remember the name, it's a green book. I think it's Fundamentals of Statistics or something, I can't remember the name of the book. But it was one of the essential texts for actuarial science. There was only one on this campus. Only one. It belonged to Mr. Ojikutu. Oh, you also know it, eh? Is he still here? It belonged to him. His niece was my classmate. We would beg her to get a copy, get to borrow the book so we can photocopy pages. When I got to Imperial College in London, I entered the library. There was a whole shelf full of these books. In fact, some were on the floor. I touched it, waiting for someone to say, take it from me. Nobody spoke to me. I put it down, waiting for someone to seize it. Nobody did. I took it with me and kept it all day on my desk as I read something else. And nobody came and said, you can't have it. They were everywhere. But did that make me poorer? Did that make me less effective? No. You work with what you have to get to where you want. So one message I'd like to leave you with is that nobody can make you inferior without your permission. A 7-star, I love that expression. Where's Pascal? Somewhere. But this 7-star graduate idea, alright, is brilliant. Because if you determine that you are not inferior, then you cannot be. And you will work with what you have to get what it is that you want. When we went to school, there was nothing like the internet. YouTube, what's that? But you guys, the other day I was trying to play, I play golf now. And it's not a game for old men, just in case. It's not a game for old men. So I was looking at how to improve my game. And I have a pro that teaches me, but I find it very boring and there's no time to go and see him from work. So I went on. Exactly. I got on YouTube, it was free. And then this guy was giving lessons on how to play golf. So I took a few lessons, I went back to the course, and presto, my game had improved. So you might think that you need to go somewhere far away. No, you don't. And now, the internet is available on your phone. And it's getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper to get access to it. When I was in university, my dad used to give me money, thankfully. And, well, actually, that's not entirely true. Now I come to think about it. But he's not here, so I cannot tell you what actually happened. But anyway, let's just say I had money. Alright? And when I got the money, what I would do was divide it into 3 parts. One part was for who? No, Abba. You should go and get his own. No, seriously. One part was for my washerwoman. So it's one of those little perks I could give myself. So I divided into 3. One part was for my washerwoman. One part was for my savings account. And the other part was for me. Yes, I've been doing this for a long time. So the part for me clearly was not enough. So you know that, no, you might not know it, but there's by New Hall, when you enter New Hall, on the left there's this joint where you have slots now. And there was one joint there. That joint is serving fufu. Very little meat. But it will do 6 to 6. That was all that mattered. So with that, you go there. Or there was one joint behind Henry Carr, where you go. Or is Waki still here? No. Okay, there was another joint behind computer. I think it was computer towards Kemench, that side, where they had one guy, the Wakis. I mean, all of these were 6 to 6 operations. So you take it in the morning till evening. All right. By the time you get to evening, you obtain another one. That will take you to the next day. So that was the third part. As we ran through them, my sister used to help me. Oh gosh, different conversation. Anyway, but the point I just want to get to is that by dividing the money into different slots, I learned a couple of things. All right. And it seemed as if we never had money. But guess what I learned? I learned discipline. I had an agreement with my father that I would not come home until the end of the term. I would never ask him for one kobo more than what had been agreed at the beginning of the term. Guess what? You know I don't have problem with budgets today. I don't. I can't remember when I ran out of. Okay. I can't remember when I ran out of money. Not because you have a lot of money, but because you're disciplined about how to use it. The last thing I want to tell you before they chase me away, they're always chasing me, right, is something that I call the lie of job description. I talked to some people about this recently, and I told them, and you'll hear this when you graduate. So I just want you to understand that every single thing that one has used in life are not new. They are things that you've learned as you've gone through school. And I promise you that you are ready for what life holds, as long as you're not faking the things that you know. To tell the person beside you, don't fake it. Some of you will live here with false accents. You know yourselves. Stop it.
No, then.
Because that thing makes people understand that you have very little self-confidence. If you don't speak well, invest in improving it. Watch your pronunciation. It's not pronunciation. It's pronunciation. Small things. You were yapping the guy that read the dictionary. It was not in vain. Those things there that tell you how to pronounce a word, very important. Today, my speech is slower than it ever was before. But do you know that I found that the slower you speak, the more people respect what you are saying. Just slow it a little bit. Then everybody's leaning forward to hear you. In that action alone, they have submitted to your presence. Just small technicalities. Do your homework. Don't take anything for granted. The next person has a point of view. Even if the person sounds like he's crazy, his madness began from somewhere. And the fact that you don't understand it means that there's work for you to do, not work for the person to do. You know, I often tell people that if you pass somewhere and you see someone that you believe is mad talking to you, you say, that's a madman. Not so. You know what you say? There's a madman on the road. That's where he is always. Now, if you pass again and see somebody talking to the person, what would you say? There are two madmen. So be careful how you engage with people. Because if you think somebody is out of his mind, the way you engage with the person could suggest that you too are out of your own mind. Now, when you leave this place and you get into the workforce, you're going to hear about job descriptions. Or you've still hearing about it, right? Okay. Tell them I told you that it's a lie. People will give you job descriptions because they want to put you in a box. They'll say, this is what you can do. This is what you should do. This is what you will do. And when they are done, they finish defining the box in which you will be. Then when you have fitted well inside that box, they will take you to a seminar and ask you to think outside the box. If you want people to think outside the box, why do you put them inside it? It's a lie. At best, a job description is a guide for things that need to be done. In fact, the way I phrase it is that a job description tells you that up until this time that we met you, these were the things that we wanted done. But now that we have met you, you are at liberty to do this and whatever else you deem as required for our organization to grow. The license to be yourself is critical to success. And do you know who holds the key to that license? you. You must give yourself permission to be you and not to be somebody else. I met somebody very recently, and the lady said to me, we had some colleagues over, she said to me, "Can I tell you something? I hope you will not be offended." And I said, "Oh, sure, please." "No, I won't. I promise not to be offended. I don't know who you are. How can you offend me?" Anyway, but she says that I've spoken with you for 2 days, and you are truly authentic. I have never met anybody like you before. And she says, no. Actually, my brother is like you. But so I said to her, "What do you mean by authentic?" She says that you say exactly what you mean, and you do not mind that someone disagrees with you. But that is true. If you ask me a question, I will answer you. If you don't ask me, I may not answer you. But having asked me, I will not tell you what I do not believe not to be true. I will tell you exactly what I think to be true, including telling you I don't know. It's an answer. Why should I pretend to know what I don't know? And if I tell you I don't know, and you know, maybe you will tell me, so from then I can start to know. But up until that time, I don't know. So that is the answer. But I encourage you, please, never let your voice be killed. Say what you believe. If you are unsure that you are safe to speak, rather keep quiet. Do not say what you don't believe to be true. You never know who is listening, and it might come to haunt you. Thank you very much. Please, another round of applause for Mr. Obinnia Abajue. We're going to allow him now a few seconds to catch his breath, and we're going to take questions very quickly. Questions. If you have a burning question that he has to answer, he told us when we met with him he's willing to answer all your questions. So we're going to have feedback forms go around, question forms go around. But if it's burning and you must ask now, I'm going to take 3 questions. Okay? Ushers, please can you help us with another mic very quickly? I can see one hand from here. I'd like to take someone far away. A lady, anybody? I have to see you and call you. Okay, I can see the lady in red. Can you please come forward? The guy here, come forward, please. You ask a question very quickly. And Usher, you've chosen him. Who am I? Please come forward, please. Let's encourage them. It's not easy to face this crowd and ask questions. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Obinnia Abajue. I have a question for Mr. Obinnia. You said something about reading to understand, and I've tried that several times, but there just seems to be one problem. For me to read to understand, I have to read like 5 times, over and over and over and over and over again. I still might not get 100% what I want to understand. But the fact is, I've noticed if I want to read to understand, it doesn't fetch me what I want in my exam. It's not all of the time. So, what will happen? So, we have what we call GP by the corner too. So, what will happen to you chasing probably a 5-4 or a first class, and you read to understand you're having a C, and you clap, you do everything, you have an A, you're happy. I for one, I'm very happy with that. I'm very okay with it. So, what do we do with that situation? Thank you.
I'll just answer him very quickly. When you understand, you pass the exam. Alright? You'll get the scores that you want. So sometimes what you call cramming, you probably understood what it was you were trying to do. However, the proof of your understanding is, can you use it? What does it mean? So no problem. Get your GPA of 5. When you go outside, you can't do anything. If you can't use it after you got the grade, of what use is it? Remember that when you leave this place, we will administer a test. When you arrive, yes, first class, GP 5/5, come, we like you, come. But it's not come and take, here's your seat. It's come, here's the test to write. That test, there was no chance for you to cram. It's either you know it or you don't. So if you never understood the principles, if you never understood them, you will fail the test irrespective of your GPA. And at that point, there will be no second chance. There's no receipt. There's no carryover. It's bye-bye. So you need to understand. 5 times, 6 times, 10 times, whatever it takes. I used to read until I fell asleep. Literally fall down. But you get up and then you understand it. And you prove it from first principles. So when you go in and they ask you, why is the square of 2 4? You will not be wondering why they drew a square around 2. And it has 4 sides. That was not the question. You must understand what it is. So please practice, practice, practice. And you know what? If you get a little less because you invested time in understanding, as long as you can use it. Ganifa Wayimi, they said, had a 3rd class and yet built the best law firm in the country. So the grade by itself is meaningless unless you can use it for something. So keep trying.
Thank you, sir. We really appreciate everything you've told us today. And I want to add to what you said just now. I have a brother of mine, like he's just serving now and he will conclude his service this year. He came back and gave us his testimony, and he was telling us that right there when they were serving in their camp, that he's serving in one military, whatever, I don't even understand, and the soldiers came, and they're like, please, we need just 2 people, I think 2 people, for their administrative office. And they came and they're like, okay, let the 1st class come to this side, the 2-1, the 2-2, and they asked all the 1st class and the 2-1 come together. And the man came back again, okay, 2-2, you can join them. And this brother of mine graduated with the 2-2 economics, University of Ilorin, and they gave all of them tests. Even the 1st class, the 2-1, the 2-2, and he was the only one that had like 6/100. The 1st class, 40-something, the 2-1, 30-something. And the man was interviewed because the man, the overall of that day, now called him like, come. And you can enter with 2-2, how come you now 1st class? And he told him that, come. I'm an executive in this, I'm an executive in that, and he was the best thing that he picked for the work that they needed to do in that place. So, that is the whole sector. So my question is, because good education is known after the fact. What are the facts?
Good, thank you.
After the fact is after it's been acquired. So the fact is the acquisition of good education. You can't know someone that has good education by the school the person is about to go to, or by the school the person is in. No. You only know the person with good education after the person has finished getting the education. So 2 people can pass through the same school. One has good education, the other one doesn't. 2 people can attend the same courses. One has good education and the other one doesn't. They sat in front of the same lecturer. One has good education, the other one doesn't. What is the difference? One understood. The thing passed through the person. The other one just passed through it. And you know the difference when you ask them to apply it. You know the difference when you ask people questions. You know the difference when they can pull examples from things that they have learned, all right, to be able to apply to circumstances in front of them. It's not then you start the research for the information. It must already be sitting on the inside of you.
Thank you very much, sir. My question goes to I'm this kind of person that I'm very selective with people, and when I read, I understand. But one aspect of it is that after understanding what I've read, and I put into it in practice, and it was real, but the end point is always at limited point. So at that aspect, I don't really understand. After reading, I practiced it with some of my friends, and we saw that it's real and good. But after doing all those things, and the endpoint of the result always has a limited aspect. I don't understand that aspect of it, like all those things that I expect. Because in doing it, I understand, and I know what I was doing. I'm not just doing it because I'm on the back. I've studied it, I've practiced it, and it's really real. But I don't understand why after it.
Okay. I'm not entirely certain that I understand the question she's asked. So my understanding of the question, let me rephrase it so I can answer it, is that she understands what she's read and she applies it and it looks like it works, but she doesn't quite get the result that she wants. Yeah? What's your understanding of the question? Yes. Okay. Alright, so let me answer that question. The proof of what you understand is the outcome that you want. It's as simple as that. If you say that A is equal to B and B is equal to C, therefore A is equal to C, full stop. Abi? Yes. If therefore A is not equal to C, then either A is not equal to B or B is not equal to C. Are we still together? Yes. This is very simple algebra, right? Yes. Okay. So I went to school. Yes. Now, if you set your eyes on a target and you say this is what the outcome needs to be, then you have to walk back. This is a challenge that we face all the time. Because in between where we are and where we want to get to, there are variables. Those variables are not static. So you continue to practice and practice and practice until you master all the variables that can impact your outcome. And while you're doing it, you're praying that nothing that you did not expect got into it. What I'll say to you is that if you look at the difference between what it was you were expecting and what it was that you actually got, that difference is the difference in the level of understanding you have about the subject matter. Go back to first principles. Simulate that outcome and work it backwards and see if it is possible to get the answer that you want. The only way to explain it to you in real life is, you might not understand this, but why is it that the best golfer in the world, Tiger Woods, all of a sudden becomes unable to win the tournament? What has he done differently? Even he doesn't know. So he keeps practicing and practicing and practicing. My last 2 golf rounds, alright, have been great. Each one better than the other. But what did I do differently? I don't know. It is just repeat the thing that works, the same principles that work. Repeat them over time, and you keep spotting things that you haven't done different, you haven't done as well as you did before. And every time you repeat better and better principles, you get better and better results. The one thing I can tell you for sure is that success is not overnight. And the person that said that you required at least 10,000 hours of practice to get to a place of mastery was correct. Next question.
My question was,
Thank you, sir. My question goes like this. You said we should use what we have to get what we want. I was trying to phrase it the exact way. Okay, we should use what we have to get what we want. I want to use this scenario like to ask my question. Like I was reading in the reading room in the hostel this morning. And while I was reading, I had somebody beside me who has his laptop on and
It was just like, listening to a lecture just on his laptop, and I have my own textbook. I was just reading it, and now I don't have access to such. Now I begin to wonder: does that mean that I may not be able to excel as much as he will excel? Because what I have at that moment is just what I was reading, and it has gotten to a level, just like one of my lecturers actually put all his material online, and I needed to get a hard copy of that material, and I asked especially everybody in my department, please, do you have hard copy? No, I have some. Do you have hard copy? I have some. And I was not the whole company. I had to go to the cafe and print out hard copy for myself. So now, is it still possible within the limit of what I have? Is it still possible I excel as much as those that have?
Okay, I see you all like this question. Well, the answer is yes. Alright, I mean, look, are you saying that because you have a hard copy, alright, you understand less than someone that listens to you? In fact, for those of us that grew up on hard copy of everything, alright, my first computer I actually used when I started working. Yeah, the first time I actually had access to a computer, I have started working. So it's not, everything was really about the hard copy, the hard copy, the hard copy. And the reality is that if you read and you understand what you've read, whether the person listening to it or whether it was preached to him, it's irrelevant. Or you will succeed at what you do. The question, when they ask you the question, you don't, the exam does not say, was it soft copy or hard copy? The question is the question, and the answer is the answer. So please, read what you have and answer the question. Please, a very big round of applause for